Hey guys, this is Dante here. I'm doing a Patreon relations recording. This is the first one. This is our quarterly, so I think this is quarter three of the progress that's being done for my Patreon. So one of the first things I want to say is I want to tell everybody thank you for their continued support. Um, Thank you for listening in, and really thank you for the your support and helping me continue to develop the brand and get this thing running. So right now we're going to look at the investor or the progress charts of this year. um, I'm actually really confident in terms of our progress that was made for the beginning of the quarter, so between um, May and July. July was a very strong month. So was June and May. August, I had some personal issues I had to deal with. So we didn't see the type of strong growth between August and September. We saw a very steep decline in terms of growth, but it's very strong growth, and we're right now with this last comment getting back up to those levels. So I have a um, strong belief in where we're going. I'm very excited to see the sustained growth in the future. One of the things I wanted to talk about as we start getting into more and more stuff in terms of going over the game, the comics, and potentially other projects is the first thing I want to discuss is the aspect of I want to move to start moving back into the building phase, which means increasing the Patreon community that we have going on right now. One of the first things I want to do um, was I wanted to. There's actually three things. The first thing I wanted to do, which will probably be, it would be kind of exciting to some people and to other people probably not, was to have a free to play revamp, which means to have the game that I currently have be released, a version of it be released to the public in order to increase membership. Um, Now, let's say if we go back, let's go back to a second. Let's go back to the title page. So if we look at the game right now, the Patreon prototypes version will be only accessible if you're on Patreon. So all the kind of the updates or the projects, right, that aren't complete or aren't in a stage of development where it will be shared to the public would be limited to Patreon supporters. So this is something that is already included right now, and it's just to have something to be maintained. Also, one of the things that I want to do, which is really I haven't been able to get it working to the degree that I would like, was to have sort of a Patreon reward for gems. But in order to do that, there's a lot of documentation, other stuff that I need to get the probably like a 200 or 300 or to get those gems to Patreon supporters. To have that API be included into part of the game. But yeah, so that was one of the things that I wanted to discuss was the free to play, the quarterly content cycle for this next quarter from now till December was another thing I wanted to discuss. Um, I definitely want to have the first episode of Playground Battle done to a large degree by December. That's my projections. Preferably before December. That's where that's looking at all that I've created in the past thing. That's kind of where I want to be released and available to the public, to everybody for that time. I do also want to go into. Actually, I'm going to go into that right now. So there are some issues which cause delays real quick if we go into. So the first thing is that I wanted to add sort of to keep the retention rate of players. I wanted to add a sort of like habituation system. So like it's similar to like a battle pass, but you don't pay for it. It's part of just accessing the game. But it was the whole idea was it was designed to keep people playing, to keep people, enjoying the game. And this was something a lot of people, talked about who've played the game behind the scenes and stuff like that. Was that they're like, some of the advice they gave was, hey, you should have a sort of progression system. And to a large degree, I do have that. So this was the progression system. There's 40. I'll probably up that level to, whatever the quarterly schedule is between releases. And it was going to go, you play the game, which is the basics, and then you go to, and then this was sort of like the in-game content. So um, each time you played or you did, like, there's an intro mission, then you went into a complete all daily battles, and then you would do all of these. They would award you gems for that, and then you would be able to go back into here and then you do the story mission and unlock. And there's also like a timer, so the daily battles reset, and you can also pay the gems that were here. And then there was a class activity. So like a lot of this stuff, to a certain degree, I do want to have in the game, but it's probably not going to be released with the baseline. It'll probably be released in the later version, an update of some sort, probably for like a new storyline. But you had this thing you went through, and you would go through it. You take a class, and you would go through lectures, and then you go through all these lectures. You take the exam, and then you go to the next area, and then it would continue doing that, and it would influence the buy cards menu. Um, so this is another thing. I think this is available right now. Well, we do have the buy cards menu. It works to a large degree. I do want to have it so I can have all of them bunched together with each update. So that's probably like that's something that's more of like a back end type of development. Is the buy cards update. Let's see, what else can we talk about? So in regards to the game, because a lot of people would think, this is a Patreon comic book, creator Patreon, and that was never the full intent. I was always a game Patreon. That was the whole focus, but I created the comics because I wanted to work on my storyboarding skills and to be able to create storyboards for games and whatnot. That was probably like one of the biggest troubles I had was just the front end storyboard type content for the game. The back end was pretty much the way I like it. There's not a lot I would add to that, but the front end really needed a lot of work on the storyboard side. So I just started creating the comics, and they took off. Without a doubt, I didn't expect the type of growth that I got from drawing comics, but those comics really took off in terms of membership and rewards. So I'm going to continue drawing the comics. One of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to move to a more sustainable growth. Um, so I was thinking of having like the conception of releasing a page every other day instead of releasing a page whenever I finish the full on comic, which would keep people engaged. It would keep people engaged, increase engagement to the brand, and also it would build up sort of momentum. And it's the momentum I need to move into other projects. But yeah, that's one of the things I want to focus on, that sustainable growth period. That's what a lot of people do. They release page to page. I do believe I probably, if I could get to a sustainable rate, which means if I could get ahead of the curve, then I'll probably take on more, individual comics like I do now. But right now, I do want to get a sustainable growth period. Not to have like these delays that I've had over the past couple months. Especially last month between August, there was a huge delays. Like I said, I've only released what was it, one comic in August, which is this is unacceptable, especially since I came out doing three in July. Right, we saw a lot of strong growth. We went from 27 to maximum of 44 subscribers. I mean Patreon members. So I want to contain and have that sustainability of growth. So one of the things that I noticed is that I get more subscribers with preview pages. naturally than I do with actually releasing the comic. Which is it's good to a degree because it shows me a lot of people are engaged. I feel like, oh, there's a lot of anticipation for my work, but the work once it comes out isn't really anticipated or engaged with as much as the previews. So I do want to understand that and move towards building a model based upon that. Comment down below either on the Patreon page or the YouTube page what you think about that, because that's really something that I think will, taking that path in terms of increasing engagement and anticipation for future projects is something that I really think will increase the Patreon subscribers. But I'm going to try that out for a month, and based upon maybe a month, maybe a couple weeks, and see really where that sort of mentality leads. Because I do know I get more money from advertising the comic than I do actually making the comic, which is crazy. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Another thing I wanted to talk about was there. I do want to create a membership website. Now, this is a really big thing. In terms of the membership website, I do want to take a lot of people off of Patreon. Well, I mean, and not take them off of Patreon, but to I'm very concerned about the direction, right, that Patreon's going in terms of its what they allow on their website, what they would what they have, what they were allowed, and at all times, even now, I do need to have my own infrastructure. So I do want to create, and I'll probably move to this at a later date, is create that the own brand page. It'll also be probably a portfolio page if you want to do commissions and stuff like that through there. Is have that website where you can go, and if let's say if you had a Patreon, you could still access that content but it's just off the Patreon site. So I'm just using Patreon as a kind of like a payment processor. That would be probably the goal. To be honest, that's a long term goal. So that may be coming up maybe probably next year, sometime around next year, is really moving and getting, and when I have a bigger probably 100 200 subscriber base, is moving these people or all those people to all these supporters to a better place where I can draw whatever and not worry about the boogeyman coming and shutting down operations. What was I going to say? So I have seen, because I do look at Graphtron. We could just go there real quick. I do actually check and look at the people I'm going against. I mean, the competition that's on Patreon. And I think over in the long haul, we've seen sustainable growth in the long haul. We're still within the 2,000 rank in terms of adult games, which I'm still being ranked as, even though I've done comics for the most part. But I have looked at the top creators. I have seen Summertime Saga's success, and I've played their game. And there's some things I like about it, and there's some things I would like to add to my game, but I don't think that it would be. I think that is something that I want the current engine in the game to be able to handle that transition smoothly on the back end, but on the current release cycle, in terms of like short term gains, I don't think that would be profitable in the short term, but I think in the long term that would be a profitable decision. Because I've done a lot of that sort of like back end stuff a long time ago. I actually imported one of the old concepts that one of the things that I saw from Summertime Saga, which is the whole aspect of moving around from frame to frame. I re-imported that. It took me, I think, a couple weeks to re-import it into the base game. So if you're on the Patreon prototypes, it's right here on the visual novel. There's this whole thing right here. You could go all over the place. You could go to the house, you go to the barn, and stuff like that. But I'm thinking of a system, right, where you can actually interact. Now, I've done this before. Back in 2017, I created a system where you can type into a thing and interact with the characters, which will allow people, especially more Patreon members, to be able to interact with the characters, like the characters I draw comics on and stuff like that. You'll be able to interact with them on an interesting way, and in an interesting way. And really, I think it would be kind of based on kind of like EverQuest, where it would be more of like a keyword system that I would use, and you would be able to interact with these characters in a certain way, and they would be able to, they would have like a schedule that they would act on, kind of like Majora's Mask. They moved around on the schedule, or it could be like Animal Crossing to a degree. Um, but yeah, I do want to attempt that. That's something that I do want to be in the game. And I do have the sustainability. Well, not the sustainability. I do have the combat. I do have a combat prototype down already, as you can see. Let's go to it. So we do have the combat mechanics. But what we really need, I think, what really I want to add to the game is the exploration and the conversation system. And then from there, I can really and have those to be like a strong base foundation, right? So from there, I can really, build and go and tell stories. Because at the end, what I see the game to be is I want it to be sort of like a Silmarillion or Tolkien type, thing where I can create whatever I want and put it in there, and it will just work to a degree, like a storytelling device of ages, of generations of people going hundreds or thousands of years across different planets. Have players be able to create things in it and stuff like that. That's the real goal. But there's a lot of back end that has to be done, and there's a lot of there's a lot of business development that has to be done, relations development and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. I do want to get Playground Battle 1 completed before Christmas. Um, but preferably before Christmas. Get it released in the window sometime December to end out this quarter in this annual cycle. I'll probably do another in-depth review of everything come December. We'll talk about annual projections, quarterly, what's going on for the brand and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically that's what I have for this quarter. Sorry, this is the first one. Usually people do these things a multitude of times every day, and they get really good at it. But this is the first one. There's a lot more that I want to show. But we gotta get the schedule down for the next quarterly schedule. Oh, I forgot to show that. But I do have the babysitters, the next 14 issues. I mean, up to issue 14 planned out. So congratulations on a lot of people were excited. They wanted to see what was going to be out. I've been doing design concepts for the entire family that's going to be at the reunion, besides the grandfather. Um, so you will be able to see Cindy Paprika's grandmother, as long as her aunts, and actually you'll see other characters from other projects that I've had in the past. But yeah, I definitely want to have that, and then I'll start moving into probably doing some behind the scenes development on this, this score. Like I would call it like the actor system. So I'll call it like a Westworld system. To look at the Westworld system, I'm gonna call it that because I don't really know what to call it. But yeah, so that's all for now. When I get more information, probably let's see how a week or two, we'll see what everyone thinks. And then if I need to, I'll come out with another video and hopefully it'll be better. But thank you, and thank you for your continued support. All right, bye.